And so wherever you are, here in this sanctuary or in the sanctuary of your home, wherever you are entering this time of meditation, I invite you to sense where your body is supported. Feel all the places where your body is touching where you sit. Sense your feet resting on the floor. Your hands might be open on your lap to receive, or touching gently somewhere on your body, letting you feel grounded. And come into awareness of your breath. Remembering that you are breathing the breath of God. And in this spaciousness, with the gentle music behind the sound of your breath and the sound of my voice, let yourself remember why are you here? To step into loving kindness, compassion and self-compassion. To feel the connection to all that is. To remember you're here to listen to the voice of God and how that voice whispers or sings or whistles or giggles its way into your heart and calls you forward on your sacred path. In this spaciousness, remember, there is no separation between spirit or anyone we might see as other. There is no separation between the parts of ourself that we see shine and those parts that we have exiled from our very selves. May I be filled with loving kindness. May you be filled with loving kindness. May all beings be filled with loving kindness. May we remember we are loving kindness. Loving kindness is the ground of our being and calls us to love, serve, and remember. And so it is. I invite you to deepen your breath. Open your eyes if they were closed. And just take a moment to look around you. At home, to look at each other. Put your phone in selfie mode and look at yourself. And see the face of loving kindness. So last week, I shared a passage from the 5 Principles, the book that we're reading together for the membership class, and whether you can make it those Wednesdays or not, the book is really an exploration of the 5 foundational principles of unity as a worldwide movement. So if you have been a part of this community for ages and you want to just deepen your filling at the well, check that out. If you are new, if you are 2 years into it, like some of us are, and like me, you're continuing your exploration of what it means to live those principles, I invite you in to that. But I love this passage that I shared, and I just want to kind of bring us back in there, because to me it connected the dots. Because the question I asked at the end of last week's talk was, what does it mean for us then to live based on this? So imagine living instead in our oneness with God. Life would still have its human difficulties, but our view of them would be changed. Rather than battling an outer enemy, we would take charge of our lives from within. We would transcend our labels of what is good or bad and live in the flow of the universe. Nothing might change in our outer circumstances, but our interpretation of them, our understanding of them, would take on new meaning. So my question to us last week, because it's the question I live in daily, is what does it then mean to live from that place? What does it mean to us to say yes to trusting in that ground of our being, that all is God and God is all? And then what does that call out of us in these human forms? How do we sense and trust? As a community, every single week, we affirm our vision. Every week, we land there. We come with the fullness of who we are in these physical expressions of the divine in us and as us, and we envision a transformed world. And then we lead into our mission. So we have this beautiful vision. Spiritual awakening of all. Months ago when I asked, well, what does that mean? Our dear friend Rob called out, it means love in all actions. Love in all actions. Beyond the easy, right? We all have people in our lives that are easy to love. We all have situations and even people who are close to us that are sometimes difficult to love. We might know that there is that loving relationship there, but boy howdy. Boy howdy, y'all, sometimes it's tricky. I'm not telling you something new, right? So what does it mean then for us to say yes? This call, that song is so beautiful. Why are we here? Do you believe in the love? If we say that, how do we live that? There is I have used this I think it was my first winter here. We did a couple of weeks in a row on the idea of sacred activism. And what does it mean to recognize that our activism, those things that tug at us, that we brought into our vision together today, those situations, whether they're in our own families or friend groups or in the bigger world, if we are not spiritually grounded, our activism can sometimes perpetuate the very issues that we're hoping to alleviate. If we are only thinking of our own individual growth spiritually, then we are not answering the call to live our mission. Because our mission invites us into service, into being love. So we've got this paradox. The ground of our being, we must fill that well. And then we must bring that out in our actions. Love in all actions. So in a book by Ram Dass and Mirabai Bush, Compassion in Action, they write, each of us can do something. And although we can't each do everything, how many of you are good doobies in here? You like to be the one who's helping everybody. You can quietly raise your hand if you want to, but I know who some of you are. Although we can't each do everything, together we can make a difference. Everything in our lives has brought us to exactly where we are. The shape of the body helps determine the character of the spirit. Thank you, Distillery Tour on the Isle of Mull. Everything in our experience has brought us to this moment. They go on to say, they did not get the distillery tour that I did. When we don't already know what is calling us to act, all we need to do is look and listen right where we are. It will probably be near. Maybe not geographically near, because our neighborhoods are not only physical, but it will be near. It will be something that calls to you, near to your heart. There is so much to celebrate about the ways this community shows up. Again, every week before we come to the ushers coming around with those butterfly nets and our gratitude for those gifts, my starting place is always, always how grateful I am for the many ways you show up. We have our own kind of Unity of Albany, silent unity prayer chaplain group. There are people who are not able to be here in person, but who are quietly, every time that prayer list goes out, they are holding the high watch. We have people who'd say, yes, I will come and greet our friends with a smile. That's the job of the usher. Yes, they catch your offerings with the butterfly net, but primarily they're here to welcome us in. What a gift that is, to be welcomed in. It is one of the many ways we are not only saying this is who we are, we're living who we are. Those gifts of self-compassion that are part of a loving kindness meditation, you know that starts with looking at may I be filled. We bring that sense of loving kindness to ourselves. It's on the airplane. You put your own oxygen mask on first, or you can't help anyone. How do we see what our gifts are? How do we know how God is calling us to be stewards of the grace that is all around us? We're called to love and accept ourselves. And in that filling of the well, to then the outpouring comes in our community. We have a social justice circle who has helped our neighborhoods be bigger than our geographical neighborhoods. There are many ways we're called to be of loving service. Discernment. One of the things that just was eye and heart opening when I went to my first board meetings was the sense that we're not just, you don't run for a position on the Board of Trustees. You answer the call from the nominating committee, we vote as a community, the people are, and then in our first time together, we have prayerful discernment. Where are you lit up? Or afraid but still lit up? And how are you stepping in that way into one of the roles on that board? Discernment. Our marketing team is working on discernment. How are we called to tell and share the story of who we are? And what is ours to do? Discernment of our own call, and then seeing where we then can say yes to the needs of our community here and the bigger communities that we're a part of, is listening. It's all of the things we know. We pray, we meditate, we talk to spiritual companions, we listen, we listen. So where are you called? I'm going to read a poem. It's a poem prayer by Reverend Steve Garnis Holmes. He pulls us into, there's a little line from Corinthians. He has a daily, I guess weekdays, daily poem that goes out, Unfolding Light. This just seemed so fitting for our Sacred Service Sunday. To each is given the manifestation of the Spirit for the common good. So that's Corinthians. And then his prayer invites us to see where we are called. What gifts you have, your humor, your patience, your love of beauty, your trust, are not for you. They are for the common good. Jesus did not turn water into wine for himself. Your spiritual gifts are whatever ways the Spirit moves in you. Maybe a talent or ability, maybe just the way you come at the world. Your gifts include what you think of as weakness, your ready tears, your slow pace, your silence. The world needs those too. The community needs your gifts, needs all of who you are, not the pretend parts, the things you do to fit in or to keep people from reacting, but the real you, Spirit alive in you in all her peculiar ways. It's not arrogant to share that with the world. It's evangelism. Trust the God that lives in you. It's not arrogance. It's evangelism. We don't need our words to tell people how awesome Unity of Albany is. When people walk in our door, they sense something different. The beautiful thing about Wednesday's membership class, really it was just an evening of introductions. Maybe we're going to be able to find that recording. We'll try. But the beauty of the introductions as they went around the room is the common thread of what drew people to this community. A sense of community, of friendship, of being welcomed in where you don't have to pretend you are someone other than who you are. Where we strengthen each other to do more than say the words. We strengthen each other to walk the walk. This community is alive in spirit. There are so many ways, if you have been feeling that, like, well, I don't know if I have that talent, or I don't know if I can help with that thing. Try and set that aside. Come downstairs, explore what we are already doing. Find ways to bring all of you to this community in ways that will then feed you as well. Because when we come alive and we offer ourselves in that aliveness, it does transform the world. And it transforms us and gives us what we need to do that again and again. It's not arrogant to share that with the world. It's evangelism. Trust the God that lives in you, in me, in all of creation. And as we trust that love, we share the load. So how will you answer that call? Amen.